Hello my fellow Girl Meets World fanfiction writers or potential writers. This is a video that I wanted to make to help you guys all with getting started on Girl Meets World fanfiction. If you are thinking of getting started on Girl Meets World fanfiction. So the first thing that I want you guys to think about, if you guys are starting fanfiction, you guys are starting to write Girl Meets World stories, here are some pointers that I want to give you guys all to help you guys with your fanfiction careers. So the first thing that I want to discuss is the genre of whatever story you guys want to write. So it's important to discover what you want to write. If you write about like Girl Meets World ship story, then what genre do you want to make it? Because there's some funny ship stories and there's some gothic ship stories. Anything like that. Decide on what you guys want to write when it comes to that. It's very important to know what kind of story you want to write, what kind of message you want to get out to your viewers, to your readers. So the next thing that I want to say is to create a fanfiction.net account or a Wattpad account, whichever you decide, or if there are any more fanfiction websites that you guys want to create accounts for, then that you should do that too. You don't have to stick to fanfiction or Wattpad, but those are the most popular websites that have fanfiction in it, so I would suggest that you stick to that. If you guys want to get your stories out there, then definitely stick to that. And I know that for some people they prefer Wattpad instead of fanfiction, but to me I actually prefer fanfiction instead of Wattpad, just because fanfiction is a little bit more serious, like it has that serious tone. Like their colors are like blue and white, whereas Wattpad is more like the YouTube of fanfiction. I kind of like fanfiction because of its professional status. I like fanfiction more than Wattpad, but you guys are different, so you guys can choose any one of them. But like fanfiction, I know is a little bit harder to get used to. Wattpad is a bit easier in a way to publish stories, but fanfiction is a little bit harder. It's a little bit more work, like a little bit more complicated. Like when I started doing fanfiction, when I first made my account in fanfiction, it was in 2011, and the reason why I never published any stories was because I was so confused. I did not know how to use fanfiction, so I never did. In 2011 I was 13 years old, 12 years old. Yeah. In 2011 I was 12 turning 13, but then in 2014 I was 15 turning 16. So by then I was able to understand a little bit better how to use fanfiction. So that's what I did. Wattpad is a little bit easier in case you guys want to try that out. I'll link some tutorials on how to publish stories on both. If you guys want to check it out, I'm gonna help you guys. And so the next thing you guys should do is plan your plot lines for your stories. What I try to do is whatever thing pops in my mind regarding a new plot line or regarding a new character, I will always write it down on my phone. If you guys are like people that, you know, write stuff out in your notebook or whatever, you guys can do that too. Keep a small notebook and write your ideas whenever they come up. I suggest that you don't wait a long time to write your idea, because you tend to forget your ideas, especially like when you first think of an idea and then you just fall asleep. You wake up and you're like, oh, I don't remember what I thought about last night, but it was a good idea, but now I don't know it. It's very important that once you have that idea in your head, write it down somewhere, even if it is in point form or whatever. You don't have to make long paragraphs about what you thought about. Just write down something, or you may forget it. Like that's happened to me a lot of times, because I'm just about to sleep and I'm like, okay, I cannot wake up now. I don't want to wake up, just let me sleep. And I forget the idea that I wanted to do. It's happened to me a lot with 7 Years in the 90s. Next thing that you guys should do is think about who are your main characters, your Girl Meets World specifically stories. So it could be like Riley and Maya. I know that in fanfiction they let you have 4 people be your main characters. Definitely have an idea of who will be your main character. Plan out your chapters ahead of time. Plan out the titles of the chapters. Chapter titles are very important because people will read your story based on the chapter titles as well. And I know on fanfiction you're only allowed like 140 characters, I'm not sure, or 200 characters, I don't remember, as your summary. Make it as concise and interesting as possible. And in terms of finding a good title for your story, what I've done is I've either brainstormed some title ideas or I've used the title search engine, and I will link that down below, and you guys can pinpoint what specific genre and what specific way you want your title to be. So I've done that with a few stories actually that I've had. When you have that all figured out, decide on your updating schedule. What I tend to do is put my schedule on my profile. That way that the people that like my story and want to stay with it, they will check my bio, they will see the schedule that my story has, so that they will know when to come back and check. And if they follow my story, then they will get that notification in email or whatever they have. I don't know, this is what I do. If this is how I keep myself organized, an updating schedule on my profile. Just direct your readers to your profile so that they can check out the schedule. The next thing that you have to keep in mind is how will you get people to read your story. That's a very important thing, because you want people to read your story, I think. I know that this is not allowed, but what I did to get 7 Years in the 90s popular at first, like for the first week, what I did was spam people on PM. I know that's not a good thing to do. Some people that have stick to the story can verify that I did that. I don't spam like 200 people because they will get annoyed and they might report you or something like that, but just spam like around 10 people, and spam people that you know will read your story. I found people that I knew would like time traveling fan fictions, and that's what I did. If there's a story out there that's similar to something that you want to make yours, then you can go to the review section of that story and you can PM the people there and ask them, hey, do you want to read my story? It has this plot line similar to the story you're reading. Check it out. That's what I did. And I'm sorry to the author that I did that to, but that's what I did. So that's how I got my first few readers. Not everybody obviously responded back and promised that they would read it, but that got me to a few readers. That got me to like 5-6 readers started reading my story, so that's what I did. I think that's what worked, I'm not sure. It just depends on how well your story is and how well you will keep at it. If you don't want to spam people online, what you can do is, what I've done is try to make it as original as possible. Like, that's the primary thing that you have to do. Make your story as original as possible. If you want to make social media accounts that will talk about your story, that's Twitter or Tumblr or YouTube or Instagram or Pinterest, all those common social media accounts, you can make accounts for them. You can post when you will update your story, and if a lot of people follow you, then they will know when you post because they are on that social media site a lot, and that's what I've been doing. I started with Tumblr because I wanted to respond to my reviewers, every review. I wanted to respond to every single one of my reviewers, so that's what I did. I made a Tumblr blog Q&A and I responded to all my readers, and that will get a lot more people to actually review your story, which is a good thing too. And now I make YouTube videos for the after talks of my story, and that gets people to sort of get to know me in a way and to comment if they like the chapter in my videos. So that's another thing that you should do, but do this all in your own time. Do not feel pressured to update as much as possible. You don't have to update as much as possible, even if your readers will ask you, when are you gonna update? When are you gonna update? No. Update at your own time. Do not feel pressured to update every single day. That is impossible for me. But don't feel pressured because your readers tell you that they will not read your story if you don't update. It's your own story, and your true readers will understand that you have stuff to do. And I know that because I have true readers that do understand, and I know people still ask me if I will update, and I don't mind that because that keeps me on check. But people that threaten you that they will not read your story any longer, ignore them. Ignore them, please. Just do yourself a favor, ignore them. Do not listen to them because they don't know what you're going through, whatever you're going through. Don't take fanfiction as a chore or as a job. What I mean by that is that don't feel pressure to update as much as possible. Just update at your own pace. Keep your story unique as possible. People like uniqueness. People do not want a carbon copy of another story. Remember that you have a different voice than anybody else. Your voice is special, and you can make your voice out loud in fanfiction. And that's the reason why to write fanfiction, is so that you can express yourself, not somebody else's story. Definitely keep in contact with your readers. Always appreciate their support, just like I do. I try to do that. I hope you guys understand that I try to do that. Don't ignore them. Always appreciate it, because they're the ones that are getting you through this. I also suggest that you guys take as many suggestions as your readers will give you, so that they will know that they have a voice in your story. But if you don't agree with whatever suggestion that people give you, you don't have to do everything that people suggest that you do. Don't feel pressured to do that at all. It is your story at the end of the day, but just know that readers will appreciate you considering them and making them a part of your story, just like I always try to do with my own reader. Hello readers, if you're watching this. And most importantly, write for yourself. Do not think that because nobody is reading your story, at least in the beginning, that you should stop because you're not a good writer. That is not true at all. You are a writer. Anybody can be a writer. That's in my point of view. Anybody can be a writer. You should write because you want to be heard, but also because you want to see yourself being heard. You want your voice out there. You want it more than anybody else. And fight for that. Make people read it. If you want people to read it, if people share your opinion, if people share your own opinions, then people will like your story, and make it as relatable as possible. That's what I always try to do. Even with like fairy tales or supernatural stuff, always try to make it relatable, because that's what people like. People like to be able to relate to stories. That's what I've always tried to do with Girl Meets World. That's why my particular genre is coming of age stories, because that's always relatable. I can never do like supernatural or fairy tales. I am super bad at that. I love relatable stories. That's what I read. Read what you write. No, write what you read. So always read as much as possible, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine on fanfiction. This has been your guide to Girl Meets World fanfiction. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys found this useful. Leave any comments telling me what I missed. If you guys have your own suggestions and advice to give me or to any of my other viewers, then let me know, and I hope you guys like it. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want, and I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for always watching. Mwah. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye!
I've been waiting for a day like this to come, struck like lightning. My heart's beat.
Hello to my fellow fanfiction and hello to my favorite. Hello my fellow fanfiction. Hello my favorite. Hello my fellow fanfiction. Hello my fellow Girl Meets World fanfiction writers or potential writers.